Hi, I am Suraj again. Akoina overseas point na tawbuse different industries, different field, different occupation digi akoina makhan puraga akoina akoigi viewers ta akoigi awareness ama supiba. Aduna, I take this opportunity to introduce, one of our guests. His name is Ravi Puddoo from Mauritius, but again, he's a Canadian, and he is working as an HR manager with IBM. Let's hear from him first. And again, first, welcome to India.
Thanks for giving me this opportunity. Thank you.
For how long have you been working with IBM?
So I've been with IBM for about close to 4 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for how long have you been in Canada?
In Canada, so I landed in Canada in 2008. So that's almost 11 years now.
Right. You come from a very beautiful place, Mauritius. Don't you miss Mauritius?
I keep joking about that. So saying that, you come from Mauritius where it's 35 degrees Celsius and then you land up in Canada when it's minus 35 degrees. So it's a complete change.
Right.
I do miss Mauritius for sure, but I think, I really enjoyed my journey in Canada so far.
Okay. So you enjoy your job as an HR manager?
Very much. My experience, again, I started in human resources. I've been in different industries. I've worked in Mauritius. I work with an international company, Hilton Hotels, which a lot of people know.
Mm-hmm.
With Hilton, I've been able to explore different places, different countries, different exposures. And I think that exposure itself has led me to think differently and start thinking, maybe I need to expand my skill set. Maybe
Right.
I need to, I was looking for growing in my career and I couldn't see that happening within Mauritius itself. So that's what led me to Canada. And when I was thinking about Canada, I was also thinking about a place for my career. I was thinking about a place where I could expand my skill set. I wanted to learn, continuously learn, and take my leadership to a different level. But it was also important for me to bring my family to a place where I thought it would be safe and it would be an environment where we can grow together. So that's what led me to Canada.
Okay, talking about safety, how safe is Canada?
Here's the thing about safety. I think when you look around safety, you need to understand who are your neighbors. What's your environment around. And thinking about a country like Canada, where you've got immigrants landing every day from different corners of the world, so many nationalities around. I live in a neighborhood where I have like 15, 20 nationalities around. What is interesting about that is the respect that you have for each other. It's how you treat each other. And I think there is everybody, respect each other's culture. Everybody celebrate each other's culture. And a place like Canada, where everybody lives in a very harmonious environment, you can hardly hear any bad news in Canada.
Right.
And we are fortunate to live in a place where we can raise the family. My kids goes to school there. My son, for example, goes to a French immersion school, so he's learning English and French at the same time. And that's the kind of environment, that's the kind of exposure that I wanted to give them. So, for me, it's a safe place to be with my family, and that's where I would like to stay.
Okay. As an HR manager, what do you look from a candidate when it comes to selection of for a job profile or during the interview? What do you look?
Yeah. There are two things you need to look at. So number one is understanding as an organization, what are my needs? What expectations do I have? And it's all about, here's one position that I have in an organization and I'm trying to find the best candidate for that. So understanding what are the needs for the organization is very important. What's the expectation in that role is very important. So because you're looking for someone to deliver that particular job. But as a talent acquisition manager, which is part of the human resources, which I do, what I look into a candidate is a couple of things. So number one is, what's the skill set that this candidate has? Number two would be the knowledge that the candidate is bringing to the table, to this organization. But number three, which is really, really important, is you're hiring for potential. You know, what the potential that I see with this candidate today that I could bring this, that I see that this candidate can bring forward as a value proposition to the organization. So is this someone that I can groom? Is this someone that I can upskill? Is this someone that we can stretch?
Whether the candidate is trainable
within that job that the candidate has. How do I see this candidate taking this to the next step?
Right.
If I see that potential, that's the wow moment. That's what the signature is about a good candidate for me.
Right. Mayam nasu hozik tare. You as a candidate, when you apply for a job, HR na pamisi karino. Magi requirements HR manager mana yengi bisi karino habisa hoziki khoigi somna phambiri ba Ravi Sena sum habi khre shisine khoina munna khangom godo buse. Talking about part-time job and full-time job, what are the requirements or how do you look at it when you hire a candidate?
Let's try to understand the concept of full-time job and part-time job. A full-time job is where you are hiring someone that would be with the organization on a full-time basis. So let's say if they have to work 35 or 40 hours, you're hiring them to work for that time frame.
Okay.
And when you look at job advertisement,
35 to 45, that is in a month?
In a week.
In a week.
In a week. That's a weekly average that you do.
Okay.
So that's a full-time job. Now, when you look at a part-time job, you might have a part-time job where you have to do 20 hours per week. Or it's a part-time job but full-time on full-time hours. So it's a part-time, full-time hours, but you don't get the benefits that you would reap in a full-time job.
Okay.
So what is important is that right from the onset, you understand what are you getting into. It's a full-time job, while your commitment would be to work X number of hours. You would have to, be at a certain location, because sometimes some of the jobs in Canada is that you can work on site in an office, but there's a lot of flexibility to work from home, which is a great benefit. And this is great. In a country like Canada, you can sit from home and do the same job that you would do in an office. So you don't have to commute on a daily basis. So there's a lot of things like that you need to understand right from the onset. And the same will happen in the part-time job. You know, in the part-time job, maybe you will have a certain number of hours, but maybe you won't be getting the benefits as a full-time employee. So you need to understand that what relates to your needs, what relates to what you are looking for. The interesting thing about working in a full-time job and also working in a part-time or what we call a temporary job is that a lot of the organization in Canada or in North America, what they like is that they like to test you. They like to see your potential. They like to see your capabilities. They like to see your skill set. How would you adapt in that organization? So what they do is that part-time or temporary job is a trial basis for 3 months, for 6 months. So they bring you in the organization. They say, the job is there. And after 3 months or 6 months, they're going to do what they call a probationary assessment.
Right.
After that assessment, let's say, for example, they say, you know what? I like Joy. He's a fantastic guy and I don't want to let him go. The organization will find a spot for you after that 3 months, 6 months trial. So sometimes it is interesting when you see people, they apply for job, but they only want to apply for full-time job. But they miss the opportunity to apply for a part-time or temporary job, thinking that, oh no, it's only for 3 months. Actually, it's a good strategy to start a job with 3 months to 6 months, because that gives you the mileage to get into an organization. It's like you're getting a foot in the organization as an entry point. That has a lot of people I've seen a lot of people being more successful in that route. Right,
indeed. You join as a part-time, and there is a big scope to work as a full-timer. They have this concept of probation period. So at this point in time, you would know whether you are fit for the position, at the same time for the employer as well. So both of them has the platform, to check each one another. And then, you go for the full-time.
Can I add something as well?
Please.
The other thing that, again, from an HR perspective, that we see a lot more working is that as a student, in Canada or
Okay.
in the United States, you can have part-time jobs. So you can work for, let's say you're eligible to work for 20 hours. A lot of times what I advise these students is that when you're trying to get a job, it's important, maybe you're trying to get money. You're trying to build some cash for yourself.
Right, and you want to be independent.
Absolutely. Let's say your tuition fees are being paid by already, but you need some pocket money or money that will
Right.
sustain your day-to-day, and you want to work that 20 hours. Sometimes my advice is that think about that 20 hours as a job. Think about these 20 hours as start building your career. If you are let's say in a finance industry, why don't you try to get a job within that finance industry for that 20 hours? That start building your career. So what you're trying to do is that you're trying to build your resume towards that new job that you're going to have within your studies. A lot of people try to say, what, I'm not getting the job, but let me just take a job in retail. Let me take a job in one of the Starbucks as a barista. Fine, good, it pays the money, it pays the bill, which is great. But if you have the opportunity to say, what, I like audit, why don't I go to PwC, Deloitte, or the Ernst & Young, and let me try to see if I can get 20 hours with them, even as a part-time. Think about that. If you do that for 2 years or 3 years, you building your resume already. By the time you finish your studies, you already have 1 year of experience, which is in your related field.
Okay, let's take an example that I'm a student. Now I want to go for a part-time job. So where do I go? How do I search part-time jobs?
Yes. So there's a lot of websites that provides you the ability to look for those jobs. Indeed.com is the number one website right now. Jobs are posted every day, so you can see those jobs. You can register yourself on those websites, and these websites allow you to have what we call a job alert. So basically, you're sitting there, you get every day. What I did it for myself because I like to keep in touch with my industry and think about, what are the positions that are available in the market, in my field. So it really, helps me to try to get to that area and think about what are the positions that are available. And when these positions are available, I get on my smartphone every day a text that sends me, here's the 10 jobs that are available.
Okay.
in my area. And that would be the same for a student. So if as a student you register yourself, you get a job alert that tells you these are the jobs in your field, and you can apply. And you can have your resume online, you can just keep applying for these jobs. You can also go to certain agencies. There are agencies that are on site that are recruiting people for part-time jobs, and you can register with them. The moment they have an opportunity, they will call you.
These agencies or these job sites, do we have to pay them?
No, not necessarily. You don't have to pay them. They're free. You just have to register yourself with them. Like I said, these other websites, you just register your profile on those websites and you can go for that. There are certain agencies that also pay, but very, very less. Like most of them is your own effort.
Okay.
Yeah.
Could you tell us something about the work culture, the work ethics in Canada?
It's a very interesting, and then it's a great question. It's a very interesting environment in North America, which I work in Europe, for example, for many years, but the type of work culture and the type of leadership in North America is completely different. What I mean by that is when you are in an organization in North America, it's a lot about your skill set, it's a lot about your capabilities, it's a lot about how you deliver, your deliveries. And that's how they measure your productivity, and that's how they measure your success. It doesn't matter where you come from, it doesn't matter who you are. What really matters is how you perform. So you can see a lot of, I'll say Asians, for example, very, very successful. A lot of Manipuris that I know in Canada, very successful. You can achieve, your goals. You can achieve your dreams in a country like that without relying on, somebody to favor you to get to the promotion, or somebody say, oh, I like Ravi, he's a nice guy, and I think we need to promote him. No, they will promote me when I'm ready to be promoted. Okay. And what is interesting in Canada is that you don't wait for the end of the year for somebody to tell you, well, it's time for us at the end of the year to sit down and let's talk about your performance. No, it doesn't happen like that. What happens in North America is that you have quarterly touch point with your manager, and those touch point allows you to talk about how am I doing, where can I improve myself, what are some of the gaps that we have seen. So a lot about constructive feedback, but also it's an opportunity for me to talk to my manager and say, well, I've been in this job for 1 year. I think I have delivered, I've met my goals. I've delivered 150% to what I need to deliver. Here's where I want to be. Now, tell me what's the path for me to grow in my career. Do you see me grow vertically? Do you see me grow laterally? Do you see me grow in another division? That's the kind of conversation you get to have in an organization like that. Myself, prior to coming to Canada, I was already a director of HR. But then when I wanted to build my career, sometimes you need to take a step back. You have to take a step back so that you can leap further. And I did that. And for example, the job that I took with IBM was not probably the job that I wanted, but I wanted to try a new concept, a new sort of expertise. And what it helped me to do is that it helped me to build my skill set, build my capabilities, build my agility that has even helped me to jump further in my leadership career. So that's the kind of work culture that you can expect in Canada.
Okay. See, you heard from Ravi Sen that, it's not the color, it's what you can bring, what you can bring on the table. And that's what matters if you want to make a career in Canada. Ravi Sen, what do you do? During your vacation, where do you travel? What do you do?
Another interesting question, because I'm an avid traveler. I'm even now in Manipur. I've come here and I went to Shillong. From Shillong, I went to Dalki River. Okay. I'm an explorer. I like to explore. In Canada, for my vacation, I can tell you there's so many places. It's a big land. It's a big place. Within Canada itself, there's so many places that you want to visit. There are so many. If you are in one province, there are so many different provinces that you want to travel. So for me, it's really getting an opportunity to discover this land of opportunity. At the same time, it's just get to know the culture, get to know the people, get to know different places within Canada itself. But you also have access to go to Latin America. You can go to, we as a family, we went to Cuba. We're planning to go to Mexico. It's very accessible as well from there. And I think, you want to explore these places around because there's a rich culture behind it. And one thing which is great about when you move to a country like Canada, you start becoming Canadian. You want to embrace the culture, you want to know the culture, and there's so many things to learn about it. I'm also a parent, so I have 2 young kids, my son, my daughter. Like I said, my choice to go to a place where we can be safe, where they can, have a better education, where they can grow, when we can grow as a family. That was very important to me. Now, I come from a place like Mauritius, which is a paradise in itself. Right. I have to be honest with you, it's not a place where we are unsafe. We're very safe there. But when I see other people coming from different countries where they're running away from war zones, or they are refugees, they're coming to Canada, and the choice of coming to Canada is really because they want to be in a place where they're safe. And I think that's very important. You leave. Canada is a very inclusive country where they welcome everybody coming from very different background. I think it's also in terms of how the culture in itself helps each other to integrate their society, to be Canadian, to be proud to be a Canadian, to have this ability to respect your neighbors, and I think that's very important. And like I said, it's a very safe place. My kids tomorrow, they will be free to do whatever they want in terms of their career, in terms of their education, in terms of we send them to camps. They go to daycare. My daughter goes to a daycare, so drop them in the morning, pick them in the afternoon, we leave them there, so we know that they are in a very safe environment. I think that's the kind of place that you want to be. You want to be sure that you're living in an environment where your family is safe.
You heard from Ravison that how safe is Canada. So be rest assured that you are going to a country where you can take care of your family, you can have an independent life, you don't have to worry at all. It's a good place to live. Ravison, thank you very much for your time, and we hope you enjoyed our Manipur. And again, wish you all the best for your career success.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me again.
Thank you.
Thank you.